Shipping is vitally important to the global community, playing a key role in sustainable development. The world depends on a safe, secure and efficient shipping industry, and the shipping industry depends on an adequate supply of seafarers to operate the ships that carry the essential cargoes we all rely on. Shipping is highly technical, demanding considerable skill, knowledge and expertise from those who work in it. As a truly international industry, shipping needs a global network of specialist education and training establishments to ensure a continuous stream of highly caliber recruits. Welcome, many thanks for joining us on today's edition of Maritime Update, where we bring to you every week activities in the maritime industry. I am Norma Obiaswalo. Maritime transport is the backbone of global trade and economy. As the world's population continues to grow, particularly in the developing countries, low-cost and efficient maritime transport has an essential role to play in growth and sustainable development. Shipping helps to ensure that the benefit of trade and commerce are more evenly spread. No country is entirely self-sufficient, and every country relies on maritime trade to sell what it has and buy what it needs. Much of what we use and consume in our everyday lives either has been or will be transported by sea in the form of raw materials, components, or finished articles. The shipping industry has played an important part in the dramatic improvements in global living standards that have taken millions of people out of acute poverty. Yet, the vast majority of people are unaware of the key role played by the shipping industry, which largely hidden from view, affirming the fact that shipping is indispensable to the world. In this episode, we will be focusing on shipping and marine transportation. First, let's look at the issues and developments that made news in the maritime industry. Stay with us. The Association of African Maritime Administration reiterates commitment to building competitive African maritime sector. Nigerian Ports Consultative Council BAS tasked federal government to tackle gridlock on port access road. NIMASA appoints 2 directors, promotes 255 staffs. Hello and welcome to Maritime News, and now to the main stories. The chairman of the Association of African Maritime Administration, AMA, Dakoko Peterside, has reiterated the commitment of the African body to build a competitive maritime sector in Africa through a continuous engagement and sharing of ideas. Peterside, who is also the Director General of NIMASA, made the statement at the 3rd session of the Executive Council of the Association held in Morocco. As he also noted that the choice of the various countries in the ESCO was to ensure geographical spread, thereby making sure every region is well represented. The primary aim of the meeting was to continue to uphold the tenets of the African Maritime Transport Charter (AMTC) to improve, among others, the capacity, capability, and performance of Africa's maritime administrations and the maritime and shipping sectors, with great emphasis on human development, technology, and information sharing. Speaking further, he enjoined the participants to make valuable contributions to the cause of promoting the African Maritime Administration, as this will help to achieve set goals for the body in Africa, as he assured a collective effort to build a competitive and vibrant maritime sector that will give Africa a voice in the Committee of Maritime Nations. The chairman, Nigerian Ports Consultative Council (NPCC), Kunle Folarin, has urged the federal government to match the demand of port usage with the supply to ease the constant gridlock on the Lagos port access routes. According to him, Apapa Port access road will continue to fail because of the volume of usage, as we are now importing over 1 million used vehicles through the ports and borders every year. He advised that the only one road that leads to the port for the past 30 years must be expanded beyond the only one road that leads to Tinkan Port, as he pleaded with the federal government to give urgent attention to the expansion of the port access route to accommodate the cargo traffic. The governing board of the Nigerian Maritime Administration and Safety Agency, NIMASA, has approved the appointment of 2 of its officials as directors and promoted 255 others across other grade levels. The 2 new directors are Nigeria's alternate permanent representative at the International Maritime Organization, IMO, Diko Bala, and the agency's deputy director, Maritime Labour Services, Rita Uruakba. Kazia Musa was promoted to the rank of assistant director, while 236 others were promoted across other grade levels. The agency's governing board chairman, retired Major General Jonathan Gaba, enjoined them to be dedicated to their duties as the promotions came with added responsibilities. The mass promotion is the 3rd in the agency in 3 years. And that's Maritime News. Maritime updates continue shortly. Stay with us.
Welcome to Port Support Services, otherwise called the PSSP. This is an initiative of the Nigerian Shippers Council created to serve the public better. To help you navigate the portal, first log on to the website at www.pssp.ng for every information about the PSSP, which includes information on project standards, operating procedure of the partners of the PSSP, and frequently asked questions or contact information with the PSSP of Nigeria Shippers Council. Members of the public will be able to make complaints using the complaint form, track the status of the complaint, make inquiries, or give us a feedback using the contact form. The following are steps to submit a complaint. Open your web browser and type www.pssp.ng, which will take you to the home page. Click on the Make a Complaint. The login page takes you to the registration portal, which is mandatory for you to submit a complaint. If it's your first time of submitting a complaint, click on either the register or the button on the registration link. To register, you will need to supply your email address, display name, and password. After completing these fields, you should click on the register button. If you have previously created an account, simply log in by supplying your email address and password. After you have successfully logged in, you should see your complaint form. The system assumes you are the main complaint. The complaint form has 5 sections with the following details: service provider details, event or service description, other details, complaint description. In other and in addition, you will find a yes and no button, and this is how it works. Using the yes or no button, indicate if you're complaining on behalf of a company. If you're complaining on behalf of someone, you will have to give us other details by clicking on the Add Detail button. Then click the Next button. From the pop-up list, select the type of company your complaint is about from the agency list and select the company from the company list.
Welcome back. If you have just joined us, this is Maritime Update reaching you courtesy of the Nigerian Shippers Council. For details, please reach the Nigerian Shippers Council on our email, website, or better still, text the number showing on your screen. Now to the guest of the week. He is Captain Emmanuel Ihanacho, Chairman, Genesis Worldwide Shipping. In this chart, he shared on keys to achieving an efficient shipping and maritime transportation. These and many more. Stay with us. You've made huge contributions in the maritime industry, in the areas of policy formation and business development. How will you rate the maritime industry?
How do I rate it?
Yes.
Well, I would say that there is really a lot still to be done. You know, Nigeria is a major international trading nation, which means that most of the things that we use, we don't make. Mostly we import them. And that creates a demand for the use of shipping services. And that creates a demand for the use of port services, which together, the shipping and the port industry comprise the maritime sector. I think that there are huge opportunities that really can be optimized, you know, be it in the ownership of vessels that bring our goods here, or in terms of an expansion of port infrastructure. There is still a lot to be done. So the maritime industry has managed, but you also see the consequences of inadequate planning, where you look at the congestion that we have in our Papa ports, where you see that the whole place is choking. It could well be the case that if we had had good planning, we would have built additional infrastructure to cope with the increase in trade volumes and the diversity in trade types.
So you're saying that the problem we have with the sector is just planning?
It's more than a question of planning. Planning is certainly one of the key issues, but international trade, bringing goods, taking goods out, is an input and output process. And if you can calculate the variables, then you should be able to make adequate provisions for all the equipments that you need, the trucks that you need to move, the size of the roads that you need, in fact, the amount of ports that you need. So instead of actually having one port, Lagos, that's been there and everybody's heard about Lagos, and we're talking about Lagos and Tinkan Island ports, as the economy grew, as the size of trade grew, we said, it's time for us to actually invest in ports elsewhere. And with all the coastlines that we have, there's absolutely no way you can convince anyone that Lagos is the only place where you can build a port, or Port Harcourt or Calabar. There are other intermediate places that can be developed so that we don't have the bottlenecks that we have currently.
So how urgent do you think the other ports should be developed?
They should have been developed yesterday. So it's not really a question of thinking about it, are we going to do it in 2 or 3 years' time? They should have been developed a long time ago. It is a system that really ought to automatically kick in, because there are people who earn their living from monitoring the size of the trade throughput, and as trade grows, then people should report back to the administration to say, this really implies that we should have adequate or more port facilities. This really implies that we really should get involved ourselves in actually procuring the vessels to be bringing these goods, because it will create job opportunities for our teeming youths. It will create an opportunity for technology transfer. So many things that we're missing.
Talking about creating jobs, tell us about your refinery and how it will boost local participation in crude lifting and how it will create jobs.
Well, it really wouldn't boost local participation in crude lifting. It really would create a set of benefits that's different from what you would get from actually lifting crude. So far, what we have done in the main is actually to exploit our available oil resources. We have contracts with people whom we sell the oil to, and we produce the oil and we bring it to the wellhead. And then that's the end of the matter. We get paid on an FOB basis. What about the issue of the person who carries the crude to international refineries? What about the business of actually refining the products in country, so that we acquire the skills and technology of refining? What about the ships that bring the refined products back? So there are so many things that we are losing. We are losing in terms of the opportunity to participate more fully in our trade. We are losing in terms of the huge amounts now that we have to pay to people who deliver this service to us, carry our goods to our oil to foreign refineries, refine it and bring it back, and then of course add all those costs and their margins. These are ways that we're losing.
So you mean?
So you asked me about my refinery. It is something that we saw that would lift us out of the economic gloom that we're in, because we had always asked the question, why are we an oil producing nation and one that does not refine the products, that does not refine the crude in its own territory? So we had done a lot prior to conceiving of the idea of building this refinery, actually running ships, operating ships, running terminals, engaging in the trading of products downstream, running filling stations, what are we going to do to leave a legacy for our children? And to me, it was automatic that if I found the land in the right place, the thing to do was to try and articulate a plan for building a refinery. You know that I am a marine specialist. I'm not really an an oil engineer, but I had to surmount all those obstacles and say, I must master this subject to the extent that I will be able to articulate the feasibility for the refinery, the front-end engineering, which is what you can see sitting on my table, the detailed engineering, all the things that you needed to know. I had to master all of those things to be able to bring a plan that we put before the DPR and that they evaluated and said, you've got it, and we'll give you authority to construct. So we really need the support of the government and all the related agencies to ensure that our plans come to fruition. Because once it happens, there will be an escalation of benefits in terms of jobs that will be created. We've just been to China to go and have a look at a refinery which is similar to what we have proposed here. And in that refinery, they employ 2,000 people in direct employment, not to talk about all the indirect multiplier benefits that could derive from there. So it is indeed a way to go. Continuing to sell our oil on an FOB basis is not the way to go. Continuing to pretend that there is nothing else to do, sell the oil and then we'll bring the money and start sharing, it's not the way to go. We have got to add value to it, and we have got to try to make Nigeria a center for the trade in refined products.
What can be done to ensure a seamless shipping activity in the nation's territorial waters?
Again, it boils down to planning, it boils down to administration, it boils down to competence, it boils down to efficiency, and it boils down specifically in our case to not continue to look at political factors. I don't know what that means in deciding who gets to do things. You look at people, and if they have specific qualifications, you try to match them with the job that needs to be done.
So you mean that we don't, the problem is that we don't have the right people?
We have the right people. The thing is that we really need to match people with the specific competencies that they have.
Okay.
You know, if we have somebody who goes to university and then he becomes, say, an electrical engineer or a process engineer, and we don't have a scheme that ensures that those people work in that particular specialist area, then you will see a process engineer probably sitting in an office doing something that he's not supposed to do. And so all that specialist skill that he has acquired in education is really lost. So we have got to de-emphasize the impact of or the importance of political factors in making sure that our people work in areas where they have specific competencies.
Do you think it's all about specific competencies, or just the determination or the passion to ensure that a particular sector moves forward? Because sometimes you just mentioned that you are a marine engineer.
I'm a
master mariner.
Yeah.
But you're doing something outside and you're doing well. So it's just the determination you have to be able to do this, and you put all it is into place to ensure that it is well done. I mean the refinery.
Sure.
So does it mean that it's only those who studied relevant subjects to the areas they are going to place, or is just that passion or the determination to ensure that whatever place they are put in, they do well there?
You cannot build a nation by just a passion that is shown by one or two outstanding people. Okay. There would be outstanding people who would actually walk out of the box and actually excel. Okay. But of course, the country itself has to have a proper plan for developing its human resources, for ensuring that those human resources are placed in a position where they would most contribute to the development of the country. I'll give you an example of how this operated. In the early 1970s, when I first went to the United Kingdom, we went to the UK with a lot of individuals from Iran. I remember them very clearly. And they sent them specifically to come and study specific subjects, specific areas of expertise. And after 3 years and after graduating, they never gave them the chance to sit back, to get married to local girls, or to do anything like that. They brought them straight back to Iran. And you see, they put them in industry where they performed. Does it surprise you then that in a very short period, Iran had become a nuclear power? It's because they harnessed the potentials that was inherent in the skills that those people had acquired. And I think that that's what our people should do.
Okay.
You know, starting from where you design the curriculum for students, design it in relation to a technical development orientation for the country. We want to be an export-oriented country. What do we want to export? We want to export all these things that we like to consume. We want to be able to become self-sufficient in the availability of biscuits, toothpicks, everything that you see in our supermarkets. We go down there and bring those processes down here. And we then develop, in a typical factory, how many engineers do you have and what type of engineers? How many electricians? How many process people? And we plan it all the way down so that as we are enrolling our children in schools, we already know where in industry we want them to be. And that is the only way that you can actually become like China, become like the newly industrialized countries.
Talking about capacity, how can we build capacity in the maritime sector to boost the businesses of indigenous ship owners?
Determine exactly the key competencies that you want to develop, where they will be working, and send them to the necessary training school. And
so it falls back to this skill you mentioned earlier.
It falls back to exactly what I have said to you. Again, I suggest to you that one way out of the impasse that we find ourselves in is to redevelop the hinterland immediately adjacent to the ports. And that would involve massive acquisition of properties, bringing in specialist people to have a look at it and say, look at the volumes that are coming, look at the volumes that would go out, look at the size of the roads that will go, look at the marshalling area for the trucks, and make provision for them. If that becomes too difficult to do, then they should be looking at ports in a different location. Akwa Ibom is there, begging for attention. There's so many places. So we really cannot, the problem I think is the inertia in decision making. There has to be a certain dynamism that really will drive this process so that people understand what needs to be done. They take the initiative, they go forward, they give a presentation to government, they convince government, government reorders its priorities and makes the money available, and they do what has to be done.
That's a fine place to end this beautiful chat. Planning is key. Government must do what they need to do. There needs to be competence. There needs to be efficiency. Those are the words of Captain Emmanuel Iheanacho. I must thank you most kindly for coming on Maritime Update.
Thank you very much. I also would like to comment upon the expert interview. You really hit the notes. You knew where you were going. You knew where the problems were, and you used the right terms. Well done.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Welcome to our interactive segment. These are the mails we received this week. Hello, Maritime Update. I have been following your program for a while now. I heard from news Mr. Rotimi Amechi saying that the railway from Ibadan to Lagos will be ready by this coming June. Please, I need to confirm if this is real. Tony Badmos from Molete, Ibadan. Good day, Noma. I'm Alaja A.W. Muhammad. I'm a businesswoman that based in Kano State. Your interview with the controller Tinkan Command was educative. Please, I will want you to feature the MPA MD Hadiza Usman on your show to shed more light on ease of doing business in Nigerian ports. Hence, as an importer, I encounter a lot of hiccups clearing my goods. Don't worry, Alhaja. We are working on bringing her to the show. I met her in the just concluded International Women Conference in Sweden, and she agreed to grant us interview, so keep your fingers crossed. We must say a big thank you to all of you who sent in mails this week. Your comments, contributions are appreciated. We ask that you keep them coming. To join this interactive session, send your questions, comments, complaints, or observations to maritimeupdate@yahoo.com with your name and location. We implore you to keep them simple and civil so we can read them. And that's where we draw the curtain on this week's edition of Maritime Update. I must thank you most kindly for being a part of this week's edition. Please remember to send your comments, complaints, and observations on our email or the number showing on your screen. This show promises to bring you yet another exciting package next week. For more details, you can also contact the Nigerian Shippers Council on our website or text the number showing on your screen. You can view this episode or any of our previous episodes on our YouTube channel, Maritime Update. When you visit, please subscribe for free and also click the notification button. I am Norma Obiaswalo. Until I come your way again same time next week, it's goodbye.